All right. So if you notice, you have a T-chart down here. So we're going to use the T-charts, right? And this one's already set up. Excuse me. This one's already set up for you. We took this 5 and we used it here. Okay? So we're going to solve this problem using this information. Okay? So if x is 5, we're going to rewrite our problem. So y is equal to 4 over 5. I'm going to put it in parentheses because this says times x. Okay, we're going to multiply it by -5. I'm going to put it over a fraction because we're multiplying fractions. Okay, so then I'm going to finish off my equation because it says +2. Okay, so in order to do this, a lot of you guys kind of freak out when you're multiplying fractions. You shouldn't. You want to look to be able to simplify it, okay? So 5 goes into 5 how many times? Once. 5 goes into -5 how many times? -1, right? So now that I have 1s on the bottom of both my fractions, do you want a citation? What did you just put in your mouth? Okay. So this isn't really that difficult, okay? When you're, let me zoom in so that you can see better. Okay? Multiplying fractions is not as scary as you guys think, because usually you're just multiplying straight across. You don't have to have a common denominator, okay? But what you want to look for is if you can cross cancel. 5 and 5s, you can cross cancel. If it was 25, I could have cross canceled because 25 and 5 are members of the same fact family. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and bring down what I have left. I have 4 times a -1. What is 4 times a negative? What is -1? What's 4 times a -1? -4. And then I have a +2. Thank you. All right, guys. I'm sorry. Sometimes adults come in and they need some help and I have to stop. So now it becomes a really simple problem, right? What is -4 plus 2?
-6. -2. Yeah.
Now, let's do the column method because I heard a lot of weird answers here, okay? So, I heard the right answer, but I heard a lot of other answers. So, 4 is a negative number, we're going to put it on this side. 2 is a positive number, we're going to put it on this side, okay? So 2 is smaller than 4. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2 from both sides, okay? This becomes 0. What is 4 minus 2 now? 2. What side is it on? What side is negative, right? So this becomes y is equal to -2. So over here on my T-chart, when x is -5, y is going to be -2. Okay? Now we're going to do it again. Now this time x is going to be 0. And this one's going to be super easy. I'll show you. I'll do it right here. Okay? So y is equal to 4 over 5, right? And we're still multiplying. But what is my x value now? What's my x value? 0, right? So 0 plus 2. Anything times 0 is what? So I can just cross that out. What am I left with? Y is equal to what? 2. So when x is 0, now y is going to be 2. Make sense? Last one. Now x is going to be positive 5. So I'm going to take my equation. Y is equal to 4 over 5. I'm going to put it in parentheses. And I'm going to multiply it by my last x value of 5. I'll put it over 1. And then plus 2. Now I'm going to look to cross cancel. Can I cross cancel here, 4 and 1? No. What about 5 and 5?
Yeah.
What do they become? 1. Well, 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 goes into 5 one time. Okay? So now I'm going to bring down my new equation. What is 4 times 1? 4. 1 times 1 is 1, right? So 4 over 1 is 4. That's why I always just disregard my 1s on the bottom, because it really just ends up being whatever I'm multiplying my top numbers by. And then plus 2. Can I add 4 plus 2? What does y equal? So now I have 3 sets of ordered pairs that I can graph using this method. Okay? So I'm going to go and I'm going to graph. My first one, starting at my point of origin, what's my x value? Negative 5. So I'm going to go left 5, and then y is what value? What is it?
2.
Negative 2. So am I going to go up or down? Down 2. That's my first point. My next ordered pair, I'm starting at my point of origin. What's my x value? 0. So I don't move left or right. But what about my y value? What is it? So I'm going to go up or down. How many? 1, 2. Okay? Now I'm going to graph my last one, starting at my point of origin. What's my x value? So I'm going to go right or left? Right, because it's positive. 5. And then up or down? And what value? Up 6. That puts me here. So I'm going to take my straight edge. Draw my line from end to end. Add my arrows. And then label it y equals 4 over 5x plus 2. Got it? Okay, so number 3 is a little bit different because this time we didn't give you these information here, but look at your equation now. What does this tell you? X is equal to what? What is it? Negative 3. And that's all it says, right? So I can write negative 3, and negative 3, because x is always going to be negative 3, correct? Okay, remember, when it tells us that x is 3, and we know that our answer for x is always going to be 3, we can use 3 numbers, my 3 favorite numbers. What are my 3 favorite numbers? 1, 0, and negative 1. Right? And now, that's it. That's all the work I have to do for this one, to graph it. Now I just got to graph it. Right? I have 3 ordered pairs. For my point of origin, what's my x value? X, negative 3. Negative 3, and what's my y? Plus 1, so up 1. Back to my point of origin. I always go back and start at my point of origin. What is my x value? Negative 3. And what's my y value? 0. So I just put a point right there. Back to my point of origin. Always go back to my point of origin. What is my x value? Negative 3. And my y value? Negative 1. So I'm going down 1. And look at that. I have 3 beautiful points that I can plot, extend my line out, and then label it x equals 3. Make sure you draw end to end. Negative 3, yes. Go ahead and answer it. Go ahead and answer it. Okay? That makes sense to you? So that's one way. This way we're using a T-chart, right? Using the bottom number here so that we can graph it. Here we made a T-chart again, but it's x equals negative 3. Okay? This next one, we're also going to use a T-chart to graph it. But we're going to look at what is in front of y. What's in front of y right now in this equation? Negative 5. So that's the number that I'm going to use for my x value. The reason why I use that number there is because when I do all my multiplying and addition, it's going to be something that works for this equation. Okay? So I have a negative 5 I'm going to include a 0 and then a positive 5. Like my 3 favorite numbers. So this, yes, takes some work. Okay? It's going to probably take you guys maybe a day and a half or a period and a half to finish your quiz tomorrow. So we might go into Friday. Okay? But you do have a quiz tomorrow, and all of this is on it. So we're going to do pretty much like what we did up here. And we're going to take these numbers and substitute it into our equation. And actually, we have the same numbers, but a different equation. Okay? So I'm going to start by saying 2, and instead of 2, what am I going to substitute with? Negative 5. So make sure you put that negative 5 in parentheses so you know that you're substituting that number. Got it, Almond? And then write the rest of your equation. So what is 2 times a negative 5? Thank you, Sophia. Negative 10. And then continue with the rest of your equation. You're just bringing it down so you have something to work with. Remember, I want to know what y is equal to, so I want y all by itself over here. So how do I move this negative 10 to this other side? You got it. Positive 10 to both sides, right? But this time, look, there's no variable, so I can add it right to this negative 15. This becomes 0, right? I'm going to bring down what's left. Make sure you bring down this negative side. Negative 5y is equal to what? What is negative 15 plus 10? If you have to do a T-chart, you should. 15 and 10. 10 is smaller. I'm going to subtract it. This becomes negative 5. Thank you, Matthew. You were right. So now, I still don't have y by itself, do I? I still need to divide both sides by this negative 5, not just 5. I like the way Frank does it. He does a negative 5 times y, so he knows he's just subtracting by that negative 5. Okay? That's something I stole from Frank. So that becomes 1, right? 1 pi, or y, is now going to be equal to, what is a negative 5? Same thing, right? It becomes what? Positive 1. So when x is negative 5, what is my y equal? So I know that I have another plot to point right here. Yes. I still have to do 2 more problems. Okay, so now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to take my equation again, 2 times, but instead of x, what am I going to use this time? 0. Okay, I'm just going to substitute my next part of the problem. So minus 5y equals negative 15. And this one's super easy. Do you know why? What is 2 times 0? So I can just cross that out and continue with my equation, right? So what am I going to do now? I have negative 5 times y equals negative 15. How do I undo this to get y by itself? Divide both sides by what number? Negative 5. Make sure you include that negative, right? This becomes positive 1, y, or just y. I have negative 15 divided by negative 5, so these both become positive, right? What is 15 divided by 5? So now I can add my y value. When x is 0, what is y? 3. I have one more to do. I could probably plot it now, but I really want to have some really good information here. So I'm going to go ahead and do it again. 2, and instead of x, what am I going to write? Times 5. Let's put in parentheses so we know we're multiplying, right? And then write the rest of my equation. Okay? What is 2 times 5? Minus 5y. Bring down the rest of my equation. How do I move this 10 over again? This time I'm going to subtract it because it's positive, right? So I'm going to subtract 10. This becomes 0. Bring down my negative 5 times y, right? Let's separate it out like Frank does. Now I have a negative and a negative. I'm going to add them together, but it's going to stay negative. What is 15 plus 10? Okay, so now I got to get rid of this negative 5 by doing what?
Adding.
What am I doing?
Adding.
This says 5 times y. So what's my inverse operation of 5 times y? I need to divide. By what number?
5. Negative.
On both sides. This becomes what? Positive, positive becomes 1. 1y, 1 is shy. We like to let them hide. Again, negative by negative, right? So this becomes positive, positive. What is 25 divided by 5?
5.
Because when you, they're both negatives. 2 negatives become a positive. And now I can plot these points, right?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and plot them. Starting at my point of origin, what is my first x value? So I'm going to go left or right? Left, 5. And my y is what?
1.
Plus 1. Up or down? Up 1. There's my first point. Back to my point of origin. I always go back to my point of origin when I'm graphing. What is my x value this time? 0. So I don't move left or right, right? How about my y value? Up or down? How many?
3.
Up 3. Bam. Last one, 5, 5. So back to my point of origin.
Right.
Am I going to go up or right or left? Right, how many?
5.
And then up or down? How many?
5.
That gives me 3 beautiful points that I can put my pencil on and graph. Arrows on both ends. And then label it with my original equation. 2x minus 5y is equal to negative 15. A lot of work, huh? This is probably going to be one of the toughest ones for you to do, so I'm going to make it worth a lot of points. So as long as you're multiplying or doing the work for every one of these, I'm going to give you a point for it. So you're going to be able to earn lots of points on your quiz tomorrow, but I want you to show me the work. Understand? Don't do the work in your head. Don't guess. You're going to need to show me the work. Okay? I want you to be able to earn max points. Understand? Okay, this last one, or next one that we're going to do, so these are all the different types of equations that we've practiced so far. This one says to use intercepts. So this is when we divide our work in half, and we say y-intercept, x is going to equal 0. X-intercept, y is equal to 0. And we're going to write 2 equations, and it's going to get us 2 points that we can graph. All right. We have an equation here, x minus 2y equals 6. What is my x going to equal in this first equation that I'm writing? 0. So I'm going to say 0 minus 2y is equal to 6. Okay, first equation. Next, do I need to deal with the 0 at all? It can just eliminate, right? But I still have this equation here, minus 2y is equal to 6. So I can solve this using my steps, right? Can I solve this using my steps? So I'm going to rewrite this equation. So I'm going to steal Frank's idea and I'm going to separate that out. How do I undo? This is a multiplication. So what's my inverse operation? Inverse operation of multiplication. Division, right? What am I going to divide both sides by to solve this equation? Negative 2. Okay? How's that? Let me zoom out a bit. There we go. So negative 2 divided by negative 2, they become positive 1, right? So y is going to be equal to, now let's look at the right side. What is 6 divided by 2?
Negative 3.
Negative 3, because a positive and a negative become a negative. Okay, so when x is 0, what's my y value?
3.
Negative 3. That's my first ordered pair. Let's go to the next side now. I have x minus 2y equals 6. This time, instead of y, what am I going to use?
1.
What am I going to use? 0. So I'm going to rewrite my equation, x minus 2, and instead of y, we said we're using 0. And it's going to equal positive 6. Okay? What is 2 times anything?
0.
2 times anything is 0, right? So I'm going to bring down x is equal to 6. Do I have to do any more work on that one?
No.
Not at all. It's done, right? So when x is 6, y is 0. So now I have my 2 ordered pairs that I can graph. Okay, let's start with the first one. Ordered pair. X is 0, so I don't move left or right, but what's my y?
3.
Negative 3. So I'm going to go up or down? Down 3. And there's my y-intercept. It's crossing that y-axis. Let's get the next one. Back to my point of origin. What is my value for x? So I'm going to go left or right? Right, 6. And what is my x? My y value is now 0, right? So I don't move up or down. And I have 2 points that I can graph. Put my handy dandy straight edge up there. Graph my line from end to end. And then label it with x minus 2y is equal to 6. So far, so good? On the top, it says use intercepts. It just got cut off. So make sure you make it so that it says use intercepts. Okay? So that means you're dividing your work, right? X equals 0, y equals 0. 2 equations for these guys. These are probably the easiest ones to do. Okay? But let's go ahead and let's look at number 8. And then I'm going to have you cross off 9 and 10. We're not doing 9 and 10. So we're going to do 8 together, and then you guys will be able to do 5, 6, and 7 on your own. And I have a really good example of what you're going to do on your test tomorrow. Don't leave it at home. Hopefully you've written everything, so that'll help you out on your test. This is the last test that you'll have before the end of the trimester, so this is your opportunity to boost up your grade. Remember, I'm going to make it worth a lot of points, so as long as you're showing your work, as long as you're graphing end to end and labeling with the starting equation, you'll be able to earn max points. Because my goal for you guys is not to have you fail. My goal is for you to show your work so that I can see what you're doing and I can help you out if you're making mistakes. Okay? All right, last one. If you remember, we did this already where we want to find the slope. That's m. What does m equal? When we do that, we're looking to close this triangle, right? So to get here, did I go up or down? How many? Up 2. My rise is 2. My run is always going to be to the right, and how many places to the right did I go? Right? So this is 4. Here's where you guys get confused. I want you to simplify. And this is where you get confused. Can I divide 2 and 4 by a number that's going to make them smaller?
Yes.
What can I divide both 2 and 4 by?
2.
2, right? So if I divide them by 2, what is 2 divided by 2? And what is 4 divided by 2?
8.
dividing, not multiplying. So my slope is 1/2. That's all I need you guys to be able to do for that problem. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Wait. All right, so you have 3 problems left to do on this assignment before the bell rings. Get to work.